Everybody, welcome to Long Bangers in association with Lee Spirits. I'm Mai.
Hello, I'm Colin.
And I'm back. I'm John.
John, very good to see you. How are you doing?
I am well. Thank you for asking. How are you two?
Grand. Aye, what about you, Colin?
I'm all right, aye. This a nice weekend, eh? Been a nice weekend. Did you see the women's result there as well?
3-0
Aye,
over the current Buds as well. Aye,
aye.
terrific stuff.
Beating
Absolutely
everybody.
terrific. It's just a shame the day's result didn't kind of go a bit better, eh?
Mm.
Perhaps that would have been the Carlsberg weekend if they had also lost, but I suppose you can't have everything, eh? And I didn't really care what they do. If we're winning, then that's all that really matters. Um, we'll get stuck right into the episode. We'll go through the team lineup. We'll talk about sort of the key incidents, or maybe we even do that. We might just kind of get a wee summary how the game went, and then we'll get wired right into the talking points. Because we won, we have a wee bit fewer talking points, which is generally that happens. But I did kind of put a wee appeal out on Twitter for more, and we got a no bad response for that as well. Because I think we should be celebrating when we win, and we're in the lead up to a derby and you want to have a bit of positivity. So as much positivity as we can. Let's get stuck into it. Right, let's have a look at the team. First of all, so the team lineup when it first came out, we were in a wee WhatsApp group, aren't we? And we were a wee bit kind of like, what the hell? Um, John, what were your thoughts on it?
I wasn't really too concerned about the lineup, to be
Hmm.
honest, and I couldn't quite understand why it caused as much friction. And I saw on Twitter yesterday, while I was watching the game, some of the comments come through, especially when we'd gone 2 and then 3-1 up. Some of the, obviously there'd been like bookmarks and retweets and what have you in response to the criticisms of the lineup. So what did you two? What was your recollections of the criticisms and the feelings about the lineup?
I can't remember. I can't remember much. I do remember. What I think is, I think when people see Josh Campbell's name on the team sheet, they tend to go fucking nuts. And that's what causes. We had this before a few games ago. Can't remember what game he started, maybe a month ago, and people seem to see his name and that's it. Fuck's sake, Hibs. You know what I mean? It's like that's what kind of because other than that, not really any real surprises in there. I mean, I was surprised they played Boyle up front with you,
Aye, I think that
but
that was what
that
caused
team,
the reaction as well, isn't it? But
yeah,
like no Gale and
mhm.
going with Boyle and Youan up top.
But proved right.
Hmm.
You know what I
Totally.
mean? Like we spoke about Aberdeen. Well, it wasn't that long ago we played them, about how they're not that quick at the back and stuff. So play too fast, guys. Like it doesn't seem. I think you need to be pro licensed level to work that one out. So I think that was what I was surprised at, but I was wrong. So well done.
I think I said in the chat I could get behind the two fast guys up front, Ewan and Boyle. It made sense to play it. I think I would have started with Gale given the choice. Um, but again, proved wrong. Like that's kind of quite spectacular as well because the team did well. Right, we'll not dwell on the team because I think actually there wasn't really that many other surprises. And like you say, Cole, maybe
No.
Campbell being in there, but other than
We,
that,
we say it's a surprise. We done the preview on Friday. Neither of us picked Campbell, but I remember, mind I called him Nicky Campbell because I was thinking I was going to play. I was talking about Nicky Cadden and Josh Campbell at the same time, and I was like, because I was thinking about playing Josh Campbell because this is his type of game, eh? When you got into somebody that's got to go and chase and press and harry and that. I think it was brilliant yesterday.
mhm. On the YouTube comments, Ian said, "Nice to see you, Curvin Nisbet," which is the first one.
Hi,
Chris
Ian.
Black said, "Viva la Hibs! Amazing what a win does, and moving into rattling these mutants on Thursday." Ian said, "My gripe was Boyle, but came back to bite me." And Paul said, "No real recognised striker was a concern for me. Worked out all right though." I think just reflects kind of what we were saying there. Colin, in terms of how the game went, what were your overall thoughts on it?
I really enjoyed it. Can you hear that dog barking?
A wee bit. It's all right.
Just a wee bit
Um,
added flavour for the podcast.
fucking annoying, no way.
An
Um,
honorary member, innit? Like all the dogs are honorary members of Long Bangers. Long
no,
Barkers, we should have called it.
there's not even any boyfriends in. Mind I was saying that the other week. Like, there's no boyfriends in. So, anyway, I enjoyed the game. Come on, I really enjoyed it. The one, right? Obviously, but
Hmm.
take about the winning bit and all that. See. there was a tackle. I think I seen it called Mickey Campbell again. Fucking hell. Mickey Cadden made a tackle down near the byline and he won a goal kick at it. And he got up and Iredale was over high-fiving him. And there was another one, I think somebody was on the ground. It may have been Josh Campbell when he went down to either change his boot or fucking head knock. And they all piled, there was a few in Rocky and that all piled into like disperse the Aberdeen players, and I thought that's like showing like they're a team that they give a fuck. You know the things I've been moaning about, like where how do every other team have defenders chucking their cell at balls and fucking celebrating a clearance and all that? And I thought it was good to be that side. It fucking going down for head knocks, taking their boot off and taking ages to put it back on. Like it's like fucking magic. Like we're actually looking like a team that care, that want to do something, and they're all in it together.
Mm.
That's what 100%. I like as much as the win.
And John, we didn't get off to the best start. Well, Aberdeen took an early lead, and it looked for a few moments, at least at the start of the game, that it was going to be a long afternoon for us. What do you think of the start we made?
I mean, to be honest, I can't really remember much before the goal went in, and it's probably because the goal sticks out, and and because it was early in the game, you sort of forget anything the good that happened before that, because you think to yourself, "Fuck, that's just lost an early goal. It's up at Pittodrie. We didn't have a good record there. We're not particularly good at coming from behind." The goal itself, I think they had a dangerous ball down their left-hand side in a similar position. I don't know where Ahora was at that point, but what led to the goal, I think, was Ahora kind of getting sucked to a wee position a wee bit. He's gone for a ball that I think on reflection he's going to say that he wouldn't have gone for.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy's just bore down on goal, and I tucked it in the far corner. I wasn't sure whether it had taken a wee deflection off of Bashiri, or if Jordan Smith is went to put his hand out for something and pulled it back in. It looked like he should have stuck his arm out, but he sort of like pulled it back or something. I'm not 100% sure.
I think it doesn't nick off a Rocky's boot on the way in.
Yeah. But then we get back in it quickly, and I think like the irony was that you commented on at the time, Matty, was that their defender Rubizic has had a stinker similar to Ahora. But the big difference was, and what I was going to suggest earlier when you were talking about Boyle and Youan up front, that goal reminded me, I think, was it our second or third against Luzerne? And I think that shows the sort of the potency and the danger of having two pacey players up front. Like neither of them, I think, are out and out strikers, but their pace in those situations was dangerous. And I think the big difference between yesterday and some of the earlier games in the season and some of the games even last season was just how clinical they were, because that was that gilt-edged opportunity to get back in the game, and he took it. It was a really good composed finish for Youan as well.
Colin, just going back to just before Aberdeen's first goal, Chris Black has put a comment on YouTube, said, "How good was that tackle from Rocky earlier in the game? Absolutely vital." And Mike Murphy says Rocky was immense, probably his best performance in green and white. That was a really important challenge, wasn't it?
That was brilliant. Aye, it was a great tackle. I think they looked for it for a penalty, but you see it back. It's never a penalty. It was just a great tackle. What on John's point, but I'm not sure what was going on early on doing that side, because I thought Cadden was maybe too far forward, Chris Cadden, and O'Hara kept getting drawn in, because there was 2 or 3 times that boy had acres of space down that side, and then they obviously sorted it, because after I don't get done anything after the first 10 minutes, but in the first 10 minutes it felt like he had a few runs at it. And I was also thinking it was O'Hara maybe, because he went off injured before last week, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
And you watch it, and I've watched it go back today, and I thought, like, the boy, he's come out of position, the boy's just knocked it through his legs or knocked it past him. See when he ran him back? He isn't even, by the time the boy scored, he's not even on the 18-yard box. Okay. He's like jogging back at best. And I thought, is he not fit? If he is fit, fucking wouldn't be having that. Like, if he's no fit, I'll give him a pass. But I wasn't that impressed there.
Do you think he would have run faster if he had been being chased by lions?
Potentially. It depends how many, I suppose. But there's I was just a bit disappointed with it, because obviously I didn't think we started that badly, and then all of a sudden, 2 or 3 times they just found loads of space on the left hand side. But I would get my doing in the end. So
aye. So that first one, a mistake by O'Hora and bailed out by Rocky, would that be the Rocky O'Hora show?
Okay, were you looking for a name for the podcast?
Just, I was just thinking
Stick
of something through on it. We'll
stick
take it
that
though.
through Grok or
I'll-
whatever
I'll
AI
take it.
application you're using. That's going to come up with a good image.
So John, you mentioned we got straight back into it with that goal for Youan, and then it wasn't long before we get the second goal. So we had been, in fact, I'd been a wee bit critical of Joe Newell during the game, so he hadn't really made that much of an impact. But talk us through Newell's part in that second goal, John, and how important it was that we got a goal at that time.
I'll probably be guilty of over egging it here because I think I'd described it as a slaloming, waltzing run yesterday. But I think he's dropped a shoulder. He's beat a player, and then he's played that outside of the left foot pass, maybe 2 or 3 yards to Boyle.
Mm.
I think Newell plays an important part in that because he's the one that threads the pass through for Boyle. But I think it's Boyle getting to the byline and just dinking the ball over. Like it's got the right pace in it, but it's in the air long enough that it just falls to Nicky Cadden, and it's like a goalie's gift, isn't it? Like he just smashes it as well. And I think we've seen plenty of opportunities. In fact, Aberdeen had an opportunity late in the game. I think what was his name? Was it Peter Ambrose? I forget the boy's name exactly.
The striker, yeah.
Yeah,
The 50p
and
boy.
the 50. So he's had the stinking either. He's also had something that I think he's smashed well over the bar. But no, Nicky Cadden, and actually, like when I wrote about it for the wee Patreon post just to talk about where I'd been, I talked about some of his contributions, and I also talked about how we'd been a little bit questioning of his signing and how it was a little bit convenient that his brother played here and recruitment, etc. But actually, he's demonstrated his worth quite considerably with with the goals that he scored, the contributions, like some of the crosses and what have you that he's put in. And yesterday, I think at the stage of the game, I think it was 10 minutes before half time, it just went on to kind of like turn the screw a little bit, which is something else that we've been guilty of not doing previously, of capitalising when you're ahead. So it was a good stage to get the goal. It was a good team goal, especially so we're talking about Nicky Cadden applying the finish. But you also had, when Joe Newell has the ball, you've got the overlap for Chris Cadden, creates problems for the opposition. I think you maybe want to give credit to the coaching staff for drilling into the players.
I think Sportscene also pointed out Josh Campbell's run that kept the defender sort of honest, if you want to call it that, because otherwise he could have easily got out. But he had to stay in, and Campbell obviously got the shout for Nicky Cadden because he's just sort of fucking shakes himself and ducks.
That's exactly the right thing. Yeah.
Just an unselfish player, Josh Campbell. Love him.
Yeah.
The first half definitely changed, though, like on the goals when we came back in it, because with Aberdeen's strong start and us looking at potential long afternoon, other than the shot that rattled inside of the post, which wasn't really a chance, the boys taking a shot for distance, good shot, helped with the wind, etc., or maybe we were helped with the wind. But I didn't really think, and for the rest of that first half, Aberdeen really troubled us. I thought we were really comfortable for the rest of the first half. Sign a team playing with confidence, Colin?
I think so. I think they did. I think they knew what they were doing. Looked like they had an identity and all that. I'm joking there, obviously, because I always think that's a lot of shite. But I think the sports scene again, and I know like we criticise sports scene when we're getting beat, but I think they said that last night. It was like they're doing things without thinking about it, which is the sign of a confident team, isn't it? You're just you're taking the passion and moving. Like, we were talking about the Boyle goal specifically. The Boyle goal, he only scored one, didn't he? The third goal. That was like he was taking a chance there, and he was waiting, and all that kind of stuff. That when you're just playing, you're not thinking. And that's a sign of a confident team. It looks like they definitely look like they're coming together. But like we've been saying it, like I can see why there was a reaction or an overreaction, as I would call it, because we were bottom of the league. But we were losing games narrowly, and we weren't taking, or we were like that first goal that we got yesterday. That's the goals we've been conceding all season. A defender coming, a swing and a miss. You know what I mean? It's like we've cut that shite out and we're capitalising on other teams making it, because they didn't the league's that good. Take Celtic out of it.
On the sort of team sort of side of things, Colin, we've got a few comments on YouTube. Hibs said Colin is far from a doom and gloomer, but that may be the most enthusiastic I've heard him about Hibs in months. It was that good I had to double take to make sure it wasn't John. John McGlann said, I agree with Colin and the Hibs were a team and that every man was there for each other, like Boyle laying off early when normally would have been selfish and tried to score himself. Ian Toggle said GGTTH with a wee wavy emoji. Hello Joe, said just play the same team against Hearts, assuming they're all fit to play. John McGlynn said, of course, he was rewarded later with a goal for himself, which would be Boyle. And Ian said, fine result though, after they scored, here we go again. Sorry, thought after they scored, here we go again. But showed great fighting immediately to get back. Certainly looked at a transformed side. Even Youan looks good again. So John, we go at half time, 2-1 up. And really, I think what you're hoping is that we didn't do anything stupid second half when we've got that lead. And Hibs having been notorious for not winning games from a winning position, having come from behind and got ourselves into the winning position, we come out the second half and almost looked like the perfect start. I mean, Aberdeen had a couple of chances, a cross whipped in that Smith's tipped over the bar. But then we get the third goal. Talk us through the third goal.
I think it's similar to what Colin was describing there with like the swing and a miss for a defender and us capitalising or something. Trantis steps forward on Elwes' pass. I think he maybe takes a wee touch and then he plays in Boyle. It's a beautiful pass. It's perfectly weighted. And I think if you cast your mind back to when to the start of the season when we had some of the criticism over Trantis being signed and we had what looked like the dawning of a really good midfield partnership between him and Quad. You remember his wee mazy run against Kilmarnock as well, where he's blazed one over. Well, I say narrowly blazed one over the bar.
Did not hit the bar.
Oh, sorry, no, did he hit the bar?
I think so.
So
yeah.
I felt, aye. We talked about like some of the ranges passing in, and you got to saw a bit of that yesterday. And you got to see some of the better qualities of Trantis and less of the things that people are critical of him for. And I think there needs to be a wee bit measured in terms of like if something goes wrong, it doesn't have to be the absolute pits of despair, but equally when he does something really well, it doesn't have to be the absolute pinnacle because there's always going to be that sort of like swing between the two. There's going to be ebbs and flows in his game, but that interception, and actually Hibs put some stats out about them, and they look good. Like I'm not going to pretend that I understand all of them, but like the key one there yesterday was the interception and the pass for his assist for Boyle. And Boyle, it's not the cleanest finish, and I wondered. But it's also like it's not an easy finish and it's not a tidy finish, but it's awkward enough that it trundles into the far corner. So it sort of I think it maybe catches the keeper.
I think he's a harsh. He takes a look. He knows exactly what he's doing with it. I think it's a good finish.
So so I compare it to. I think there was a goal that I don't know who it was, but in the Aston Villa against Man City, where he sort of dinks into the ground to get it over the keeper. So rather than like a wee chip, it's a clever finish. Like, and I'm not trying to take away from Boyle's finish. It's just what I'm saying. Like it's no neat. It's sort of like scrappy, but they're the goals you want because you can hit it too clean. It's that cliche. Like you hit it too well, hit it straight at the keeper. So whether he's scuffed or whatever, like I don't fucking care. He's hit the back of the net. And at that stage, like again, turn the screw that little bit further. That thing that we've not been guilty of in the past.
Totally agree. But if that had been our goalie, we'd be sitting here talking about having the worst goalies in the league. That's the kind of comments that come in this when your goalies let goals in. It was the goalie should say that.
You reckon?
But he just needs to stick his leg out a wee bit.
I maybe need to watch it back.
It's a nice finish. He's put it where he's aiming it and that. Like, but it's just it's not like he's mishit it. I just think the goalie should say it.
See that when you talk about the keeper sticking? I'm just going to go off on a wee tangent for a second. Did you see Spurs through the week? Who did they play? Man United, and they were 3-1 up, and then Fraser Forster's chucked in a couple.
Oh yeah.
Did you see the save Forster made with the boys taking the shot and he just boots it? Looks like it's going low, and rather than try to get his body down to pick it up, however, he just swings his leg at it and just boots it away again. Which you never see goalies doing that. And you're like, why no? That's like a perfectly acceptable way to save a ball. Why do they not just kick away sometimes? The amount of times a goalkeeper loses a goal because they can't get down to the ball quick enough. And like you said, Colin, just pick your foot out. Why do they not do that?
Is this Colin going to tell us that he's better than the Aberdeen keeper next?
I just think your goalies aren't as bad as what people make out when you look at, like, compare them to the other goalies, or certainly Smith to the other goalies in the league. Like we've had comments coming in, John, like, well, you were before you had your few weeks off, like they were coming in then, but we were getting messages saying we've got the two worst goalies in the league before anybody had seen this boy play. And then just because he made a few mistakes, every team we play against, the goalie makes mistakes every week. Every game you watch, it's like there's only like one or two decent goalies in the whole league. Like that. Well, I say decent in comparison to it. Compared to us, like, like we're comparing your goalie to them, and it's like we're saying that they're the worst goalies that we've ever had and all that. Like, no, not Hibs, and like, and they're no. And we just like over exaggerate everything. Everything gets amplified massive, and that's where we've been the whole time that we've been rock bottom.
Right, we go 3-1 up, and we expect a wee bit of an onslaught for Aberdeen, but it never really materialises. They kind of keep the pressure on a wee bit. We don't really create anything after we go 3-1 up. But Colin, you kind of mentioned it earlier. We were at the stage where we're making tackles and celebrating them as the game was kind of getting run down. A very professional way to see out a game, I would say. And does this tell us something about how much the team has learned over the course of the season, Colin?
I hope so. They definitely seem to be fighting for each other and playing for each other, and maybe encouraging each other so that they're on it together, rather than, because it's been individual mistakes we've been speaking about, isn't it? And it's like everybody blame Obita for that one, everybody blame O'Hora for that one, or Potato or the goalies or whatever. And it's like, but now it's a combined, like they're covering go each other's back sort of thing. So hopefully that's making them feel more comfortable about it. I don't know. It definitely looked like a team. It looked like a team since probably the Aberdeen home game. And we're just building on it, but the results have helped with that. We've scored 3 goals most weeks as well.
We talked about the 3-3 game, John, as potentially being a season-defining game. Might be one of these games where you look back and say that's where things turned around for us. Do you think that's looking like that is actually the case?
It's possible. It's an interesting question, because I think we find ourselves in this position where we've had a few favourable results, and now you start to feel a wee bit optimistic again about the games ahead. But then I don't know. I'm sort of cautioning myself.
Ready to let us
Aye, because that's the thing. Like, and I think because of the nature of the league, the number of teams that are in it, you're always going to have little groups of games where maybe you pick up points, but then there's always a run of, say, like, I don't know, Aberdeen, Hearts. And then you've maybe got not an easier one, but Kilmarnock are now having the best of seasons this season.
So you didn't want to, John, isn't it? Because Dale's got a sort of winning mentality, and he could identify his team.
But and I think that's a good point to bring up as well, because I tried to caution against the appointment of Derek McInnes, and we got some comments in the Long Bangers account, and directly telling me that I was wrong. But then I wonder how people feel now based on league positions, because if Derek McInnes this is a conversation that we would be having, I think, if Derek McInnes was the Hibs manager. If he'd had a good season and then he was having a less good season, we'd be talking about going backwards. We'd be talking about, well, how long do you give him, all that sort of stuff. And I think that's the caution that I've always tried to, or the argument I've always tried to make about time. Like, it's always like, it's time. Things can get better, things can get worse. Like, it's not always as cut and dried as that manager's going to change everything. Everything's going to become amazing, because they're always going to face some sort of challenges along the way. But in terms of that season defining moment, the Aberdeen game, like, I think we went ahead in that game. Aberdeen equalised, Aberdeen went ahead. In fact, did Aberdeen go 3-1 up? They must have gone 3-1 up.
It went 2. We were 1-0 up. It went 2-1 Aberdeen. We got back to 2-2. They went 3-2 ahead, and we went right back up and made it 3-3.
Yeah. So they're games that I've definitely seen watching Hibs in the past, and situations have been reversed. I wrote about it in that wee Patreon post where, like, if we were at the top of the league, we'd be saying fucking bottle merchants, name mentality, blah blah blah. But we didn't. Again, like, that's that sort of exaggerated reaction that Colin was talking about, but we don't seem to give ourselves the same credit when the roles are reversed. And I'm curious, and I'd love to have the conversation with the players at some point, you know, at the end of the season, like if the players carry on the way that they're going, where you say to them like, what was behind it? Like, was it that one game? Was it the fact that it was individual mistakes? Was it like what happened in that sort of like clear the air talk that you all had? Is it because you've all been sort of in the metaphorical trenches together, where actually you've had that mentality where you've said that we've got the quality, we just need to cut out the mistakes, and we can, you know, if we can get those little results. But then the question I ask myself as well is, well, how many games do you have to give yourself to say, well, actually, all the criticisms that we had against them weren't true? Like,
I don't think it's I don't think it's a case that they weren't true. Like I don't think any of the criticism that Hibs have, or but I say any, right? I'll talk about the criticism for us has been unwarranted. Like we were sat at the bottom of the league when we have been shite at times, and we've been all right and not got the result at times as well. But I think just because we're better now doesn't mean that it wasn't right to criticise at the time. Like I feel quite comfortable with the fact that, like, I thought it was inevitable that David Gray was going to get sacked. Like I could not see it when we lost to Dundee. I could not see any scenario that seemed realistic that David Gray was going to come out of that situation and keep his job. And I didn't want him to lose his job. I wasn't shouting for it. But being honest, I was like, he's a goner. He's like a dead man walking in that job. I look at it now and I'm like, his job's safe. Like I think he's 100% getting the January window. I think even if we don't win on Boxing Day, even if we don't beat Kilmarnock, I don't think it puts him into the conversation. We need to get rid of him again. But maybe the noise starts to grow again. But I don't think he's in that bit. But I just think these situations evolve, don't they? Like the evidence grows, and you kind of get a better idea of what you're talking about.
The question I was trying to ask, albeit very, very poorly, was we have a situation, or what we experience sometimes is that the players are making individual mistakes, the team aren't getting results, and you say, well, they're. I'm trying to how to articulate this. You say that these things only improve, so like mentality or whatever, these things only improve or whatever through results, right? So we've had now, what, 3 promising results, 4 if you include the Aberdeen game.
Mm-hmm.
How many of them gets you credit in the bank before those same criticisms start to rear their heads again?
I think we must be close to it now. Like so Colin, we were in a position where almost every week we were talking about the team not being clinical enough, like we were creating chances and no scoring them, or we were making the mistakes at the back. That's now, I think you said 3 of the last 4 games we've scored 3 goals. Fair enough, we conceded 3 to Aberdeen, but and 3 to Celtic, but we clean sheet against Motherwell, only 1 to Aberdeen in this last game, 1 to Ross County, but we scored 3. Like things are definitely improving. Like those daft mistakes are at the back are becoming fewer and further between, and we're definitely being much more clinical. But do you think the conversation about Gray's future should be put to bed now?
I do. I do. I thought it should have after the statement though, because we were just going everybody was going 3 games, 2 games. He loses on Saturday, and it's like, fucking hell. Like, we just stop actually talking about it for a wee while. But hopefully now we can stop talking about it for a while. Obviously, if we lose on Thursday, there'll be folk, there's still folk that aren't sold. Like, I'm not saying I'm 100% sold either, but I'm willing to get a chance. There's people that aren't willing to get a chance. And if we lose to Hearts, that's usually a tipping point anyway for most of the managers. So I think he's got to get out there without losing, and for it to be, and then, you know, what have we got? Aberdeen, Hearts, Kilmarnock, Rangers, is it?
St Johnstone.
St Johnstone.
And then Rangers. So there's a good chance, like considering where everybody is in the league, it's no beyond the realms of possibility we can take 9 out of 9. Like it sounds mental considering where we've been this season, but it doesn't feel like a huge leap to think that we could do that. Probably the Derby is the one that we're most concerned about.
12 goals in 5 games is what we're looking at in a recent spell. That's got to give you room for optimism.
Mm-hmm.
And I think actually just to try and shoehorn something in there, like you asked the question about like turning points and what have you. so the Aberdeen game where we were ahead, we found ourselves behind, but we managed to claw and get that point back. And to Colin's point there about, or it was yours about coming away from Tynecastle without getting beat. Like if Hibs find themselves in a wee bit of adversity, like they have now shown a little bit of evidence of being able to overcome that. And I think that's something in my experience of going to Tynecastle is, with the exception of our wee lock and eye moment when Youan scored the second, we've struggled to overcome that in the not too distant past. So I'm optimistic that we can, like, after conceding first against Aberdeen there at the weekend, yesterday, I thought, like you say, like, here we go again. But then we went and proved that we can go and come from behind, and we've done that in other games, and we've gone out, like, we've taken the lead and we've maintained that lead. Like, there's all those little things that you can tick off and say that we are capable of doing, and that should give us room for optimism on Thursday.
Totally agree. Right, we're going to talk about the goalkeeper in a wee second, Colin. I'll get your opinion on it first. We're just going to get some of these YouTube comments. So Robbie Mayer said, definitely the players are definitely behind Dave. I just hope Dave is telling the players this week this means nothing if a hopeless Hearts somehow beat us. I think that's a big point. Is like there's no point. Well, obviously there is a point in beating Aberdeen, but it kind of feels a bit meaningless if you then go and chuck it in the derby. So I totally agree with that. Paul says formation change, Nicky Cadden and Youan getting match fit have been the difference for me. All about consistency now. Keep up this form. Fourth is not out of the question. Didn't think I'd say that 5 games ago. Chris Black said the worst goal I've ever seen is Tony Craig. He was howling. Robin Mayer says no, Chris, it must be Ziggy. Stevie Goraz says even Santa couldn't have brought a better present than 3 points from Pittodrie. Great win, and I hope you all have a Merry Christmas. Same to you, Stevie. Gary Hudson said it's the White Sox. Told you, keep them. Gary was consistent with that this season. He has mentioned to me already that the White Sox
Can I just say,
coming back made a difference.
I agree. There's no, I don't think anybody can dispute that. But can I also just say, like, can the email you get in the morning of the game that says today's match and the match preview? I've just deleted it as soon as it came in, since coincided with the Aberdeen 3-3 game. So I'm also thinking I need to keep deleting that email with it.
As soon as you get it.
Yeah.
I never delete an email for Hibs. I feel like it's a bad thing to do. If you look at my email inbox, it's just like Hibs.
Delete them all.
Aye. And then obviously kind of threatening ones and that as well that we get. But John said, remember to hit the like button, by the way. It helps with the algorithms and all that. Yeah, definitely. If you're watching, if you don't already subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit subscribe, hit the like button, comment, and all that kind of stuff that the folk that came up the day with YouTube tell you to do when you watch one of their videos. Paul said, Kelly are on the same points as us with a far lesser budget. He's still a tried and tested manager. I might be the biggest doom and gloom Hibs fan going and just said fourth not out of the question, lol. Stevie said, Rocky's goal versus Aberdeen kept Gray in the job without a doubt. Ross said we look good going forward. The Diets are bricking it, but we need to play to that standard again on Thursday. Stevie said Kilmarnock home game will be the gap opener and allow us to properly kick on. Robbie said Matty Dave should be telling the players we must beat Hearts before the game. Let's shut the hubris up. And Stevie says never once turn my back on Gray. Not once. He had at least 2 full seasons for me, even if we do get relegated. And Joe says agree with Colin. We're starting to look like a team together. Everyone achieves more, which is TEAM. There's still some more. I'll catch up on him in a wee bit. But Colin, you mentioned the goalkeeper issue, and everybody having that pile on to say like we're writing off the 2 goalkeepers. Bursick obviously had this terrible start to the season. Smith had his one appearance at Kelty, which he had a bit of a nightmare in. Then he followed that up with a nightmare against Aberdeen. Since then, though, he's looked pretty solid and actually pulled off a couple of really good saves on Saturday.
Yeah.
Still a priority position to fix in January, or are you a bit more relaxed about it?
I think it's still a position we need to sort. I think he done well yesterday. And maybe he just need to run of games because, like, that's one of the criticisms. That was one of the reasons folk wrote him off because he hadn't played enough games. Mm-hmm. So maybe he needs minutes to actually blossom or whatever. But I don't know. I think we definitely we're going to need another goalie anyway because we've no. If Smith's your number one, we've not got a backup, so we need another keeper. So it's still a priority position for me. I'd rather be able to go to somebody that's better than all of them and keep Smith as a number 2. personally. But if Smith's got to be the number one, we need another keeper either way. But that save he made in the start of the first half, second half, when the ball, because the wind was carrying that, it was coming in, and I thought he handled that really well. I quite like the defenders are just, and I don't know if it was because of the wind and all that, but it was almost like they're going, didn't come for any of them. You've got to clear them. Whereas last week it looked like they were going, I hope he's not fucking come for it because I'm going to take it off his hands. Whereas this week it was almost like they'd sorted that out, the communication between them. Because I did feel like the defenders were not doing his job for him. That's the wrong word. But like he was coming for a cross and they were, I mentioned it on the podcast.
You did, yeah.
Whereas yesterday he wasn't coming, and that was like, well, I'm not coming. I'm fine with that as long as everybody knows that's what's happening. You still get some of the mental shouts, so I'm sure at the game, and like I get spoken at top tier because you're the sort of angle you have sometimes. You're like, keeper's ball, and you're like, so see the box, mate. I've genuinely had that. It's on the 18-yard. I was watching a bit of the women's game earlier, and the Rangers goal came out for the defensive line was on the 18-yard line, and the keeper came for it, and you're like, no, that's why you've got a high defensive line. You're not coming for that. Like, didn't be naffed. But that's what. But folk seem to want the goalies to come for things that they shouldn't be coming for sometimes. But if everybody's on the same page and everybody knows what the rules are, like it appeared yesterday, then I'm happy with that. I'm not going to criticise him for not coming. I thought he had a good game again.
I think, obviously difficult conditions, but John, there was maybe an example, I think in the second half, maybe in the first half, the ball's going through, the keeper could maybe have come for it. Rocky was the player kind of coming back to defend it, and rather than taking any chances, Rocky just kind of leathered it right out of the pitch. But there was no confusion. It wasn't like a panic stations moment. We talked about the Ross County game, feeling like we were at panic stations a lot. On Saturday, I never thought the defence looked like they were panicking. And do you think this is just like the benefit of having a settled defence and a settled goalkeeper now?
Yeah, potentially. And I think that's another interesting point that you were asking before about the goalkeeper, because if it's a priority position, how big a priority is it? Is it something that you want to strengthen in January? Do you want to ruin something that seems to be, or do you want to compromise what seems to be reasonably comfortable at the back now? And like you say, like there seems to be little improvements in terms of communication, for example. Rocky coming in, like Rocky's had his critics, and he's coming for egg potato. But you wouldn't. I don't think you'd look at the defence, certainly over like the last, well, maybe even going back as far as the Aberdeen game, and you say, well, have we been impacted, or have we been strengthened there? Because I thought one of the big strengths of the defence yesterday was, and someone mentioned it, I think, in the comments about Rocky having his best game in a Hibs jersey. He just did things very, very simply yesterday. Like, so obviously he's had his big Claude Makelele big tackle in the Aberdeen, in the Hibs box in the first half. But then other stuff after that, like where there's a ball come through, he just seems to be sort of like mopping things up left and right across the back line. And it's such a, I don't know quite how to compliment him other than exactly what you said. Like there was no fuss, there was no panic. Everything was just dealt with like cleanly and comfortably. And that's
just get ready. Like if it's dangerous,
decision making was good.
Basics. Just do the basics. Like do the basics well. I think Iredale coming and settled the defence a lot with John as well. I agree. Rocky was excellent. He's been good since he's came back, but he was really good yesterday. But I think Iredale coming in, I don't know if it's having a left-sided player on the left. Like I know I was like
a left-footed left-sided player.
I don't know. Because I've been quite impressed with him. I think he's decent. He's got to flying under the radar a wee bit. Can you? The other players seem to get the credit, but I quite liked him since he's came in the team.
Chris Black said we could easily be pushing up 6 before we face the Zombies. Brett Griffin said, based on previous Hibs performances, brilliant. Let's just not get overexcited yet. 7 points for the next 9 would be worthy of starting to visualise 4th. Triantis is a start in the making. Gilkey Hibs said, Merry Christmas from New Zealand to all at Long Bangers and all the Hibs across the world. Bring on the Scumbos, can't wait. GGTTH, and Merry Christmas to you as well, Gilkey. And Ian said the goalkeeper kicking led to a goal too. His distribution has been better than some of our other goalkeepers. Obviously, yeah, that first goal was a bit wind assisted, but is it a pre-assist you call that he's got? Aye.
I did care if a goalie smashing up the park counts, but the pre-assist to pass before the assist.
Is that the one for Campbell's knock on? Are you talking about another one?
Campbell would get the pre-assist.
Campbell would be, aye. So a pre-assist.
A pre-assist.
Which I think is a cack.
It's like Christmas Eve. It's Christmas Eve tomorrow.
Aye. Right, I'm going to go into the Twitter comments. One SPFL said, excellent away win with a little help from Aberdeen. Mark Loftus said, the only way is up. Who sang that?
Yes.
Yes, and Plastic Population.
But that was a cover version, though.
Was it?
Aye.
I didn't ken that. Let's say good bit of trivia. Who sang the original then?
Can't remember. There is somebody else. It's like a soul thing. It's a soul song,
East Stand Hibs said, team spirit and connection to fans are back. Fighting for each other now. Scoring goals too. It's Barry. TV balance, don't think we will catch Rangers, but Aberdeen are in our sights. On this connection with the fans, there was a brilliant moment at the end, John, with Elie Youan waving the Aberdeen corner flag with a Hibs shirt on it, along with the Block 7 boys and other Hibs fans that had stayed behind. That has been missing this season. It has been a bit fractious between the support and the team at times. How important is that connection, you think, going forward for the rest of the season?
Oh, it's an excellent question. The connection is undoubtedly important, and I think some of the players that Colin mentioned there, so like Iredale flying under the radar, like I don't know how much, it's going to sound really bizarre, but players are going to fly under the radar, but players I think are also going to be equally, those same players I think are going to be equally appreciated, and they're going to be part of it, because I don't know whether it's charisma or whatever it is that they bring to the team, but if it's making a difference, it's a good thing, and that's going to, whether it's a tangible connection between the fans and the players, or if it's just something that we imagine because we're winning games, in either sense, it's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can continue, if you can keep up, that'll just kind of like continue to build things, continue to build that connection that we're talking about.
I totally agree. McCann the man said, we would have crumbled going behind just a few weeks ago. What a turnaround and credit to Sir David Gray. The team looks totally bonded now. Colin, I'm going to put what might be considered a controversial point here, right? So we spoke to folk at Hibs earlier in the season, and one of the things that we spoke about was giving a manager time, even if it's not going particularly well. The club came under some criticism for the statement that came out because it didn't really do the job that it was meant to. But they stuck with him. I think if David Gray had been sacked after the Dundee game, I don't think too many folk would have been surprised by it. They have stuck by him. This is a case of credit needs to also be given to those above David Gray.
At the moment, they've made it's looking like they've made the right decision, isn't it? He has turned it around, but then other folk will say that's low averages because they keep losing all the games. However, they were saying we would lose all the games and we were going to get relegated. So I think there's credit due, yes, at the moment, but it's early still. You know what I mean? It's still only.
It is early, yeah, because like we were saying, you're 2 games away for that changing, and then everybody's saying we should have pulled the trigger when we had the chance, kind of thing. On the sort of the off-field stuff, and again, just on a wee tangent, because I've remembered it now, and we never had a chance to speak about it. Wee bit in the news this week about Black Knights, and there was a bit more sort of detail in the not listening chat for earlier in the season where
very pointed.
very pointed, but Bill Foley pretty much said we told Hibs that if you didn't start listening, then we're out, or words to that effect. If you remember the last round of funding, Black Knights never participated in it, and we'd spoken about it and sort of saying, well, that's quite curious that they haven't. And it appears that this was them going, well, we're deliberately not doing it because you've not listened, and it appears to be the case now that Hibs have sort of gone back and almost like with their tail between their legs and looked for that help. How, I mean, do you place any significance on that kind of chat, Colin, or do you think it means much?
To be honest, I've not read much of that stuff, right? So I don't know. That's kind of the most annoying what you've just told me about. I read in there, but I don't know if that's no changed what's happening on the pitch. That might change what happens in January. Like where we might get, I don't know, Will Dennis, the Bournemouth third choice keeper that was at Kilmarnock last season, for example. If we get him in, like we get players like, because that's what I'm thinking we'd maybe get in January, like a striker that's not getting a game or the goalie that's not getting a game. I think that's where we would see a difference. I don't think that's got any bearing on the last couple of results.
Aye, no, I'd agree with you. I wasn't looking sort of angling it as an impact on the team, but I think you're right. The January, but what about you, John? You have a view on it?
I was actually going to ask you guys a question about the appointment of Garvin Stewart and whether I've got his name right. Is that an indication of the Black Knight Group, Bill Foley, etc., having their influence in the house? Because it's been recognised previously that recruitment has been one of the failings of the football club. So now you've got a guy who's left Bournemouth to come to Hibs. Presumably that's a strategic move to try and address things and move things forward. And also to try and have this relationship where it's beneficial and it's productive, rather than you just have this like almost silent partner who's got, what was it, 25% of a stake in the club.
Well, definitely. I mean, Garvin Stewart coming in is a key strategic thing that they wanted to do. There was a really interesting article with the Auckland sporting director. It was like a day in the life, and he referenced a few times in that about how the various people at the different clubs are talking to each other regularly. And I think Tim Bezbachenko and Simon Francis at Bournemouth are sort of the ones coordinating it. You'll remember, I think, that when Garvin was appointed at Hibs, there was a quote for Simon Francis, I think that's his name, in the press release almost saying, we'll stay in touch and we'll be working with them still. So I think there's definitely stuff happening in January. We have a contact-ish within the Black Knights who have said there's more to follow. Unfortunately, they didn't give us any more details than that. They just said more to come. So I think Garvin arriving was the start of things, and hopefully we'll see more on it. Right, moving back to yesterday, Vince Robinson said Rocky shepherded the defence well. Boyle and Youan coming into form at the right time. Nicky Cad's signing of the season, team character, 10 out of 10, 15 out of 15. Vince, go on, you kind of script. Can we just talk about Martin Boyle for a minute? So, Colin, we were fresh off an extra time saying Boyle wasn't impacting the team. We would have been quite happy to see him go. He basically made us eat our words a wee bit on Saturday. What do you think that was all about?
I don't know. I hope he listened. We were talking. I said that to my wife when we were watching it. I says, I just fucking slated him on Monday night, and it's like, well, is he a subscriber? We could tell now on Patreon who.
We could have a look, guys.
So I'm hoping I motivated her. You can't.
John, how good was it to see Martin Boyle put up a performance like that? Because this was the sort of talismanic performance that we've been crying out for Boyle, that we've not seen for, well, almost since he came back for Saudi. You're on mute.
Sorry. I was going to say, again, I didn't want to over-egg it. I don't want to say that it was a vintage Martin Boyle performance, and it's actually, so to use the Joe Newell example where you said that he wasn't really offering much, he wasn't really affecting the game, and then he has that one little moment. So Martin Boyle's had 3 individual moments there. He's not been selfish and cutting it back to Youan. He's laid that cross up for Nicky Cadden, and then he's had his deliberate trundled finish into the far corner. But they're like, I think this is the thing about football players sometimes. Like, I don't think it needs to be a stellar 90 minutes. It needs to be stellar individual moments that can affect the game. And that's what he did. And if that, because he's not been without his injury problems recently. Like, obviously,
yeah,
like
totally.
there's the serious ones with the knees and what have you. But he's also had that wrist thing. I don't know how much that would have held him back, because I know it sounds a wee bit bizarre, but like, these are things that affect people. Like, they're physical things, they're real things. Like, he's not just running about with a sticky on for a laugh. So I think
there's a wee bit of sorry, John, to interrupt. I wasn't sure if you were done there, but I think there's a wee bit of, he was always guaranteed his place. So it's that.
Yeah, there could be that.
I'm going to be playing anyway, and I know they're not deliberately thinking like that, but that's maybe getting dropped as gave him a kick up the arse. And I think he might have said that in an interview. It's that somebody told me. I've not heard the interview, but somebody told me he said that. it's like you kind of take it for granted, and it almost, and I'm not saying he was, but just in your head, if you know, it doesn't matter, I'll be playing next week anyway, then I think there's he's got a point to prove. And obviously being a subscriber of the podcast, he knows he's got to prove me wrong.
Yeah, and I think we've said, I think we've been consistent in saying that. Like, if you get a good player in, like, you need competition behind you. It keeps everyone honest. It keeps everyone on their toes. So if you go back even to the Jordan Smith example and priority positions and whether you're looking to strengthen, I actually thought you were going to say that Bursic might end up heading back to Stoke or the Belgian club or whatever. But Jordan Smith can remain number one because he is our number one keeper. Like, he's our permanent signing. But if you're going to, it's not just it's not just backup, it's competition for him as well. Because I think that's possibly something that's been lacking in the last few seasons as well, because there's been that sort of like missing coherent transfer strategy where you've just ended up with a bunch of players that are all playing with nothing really to kind of spur them on.
Right, moving on. Stevie asked score predictions at Tiny. We'll get the score predictions for the derby just as we wrap up.
We're not doing that on our extra time.
Aye, but we could chuck a prediction in the
No,
night as well.
Extra time.
We might change our mind by then. Kind of fickle, yeah.
Forgot what we said.
All right, Stevie, you're going to Colin says you need to subscribe for it. We'll do score predictions in one. Chris said, I mentioned it weeks ago, the club needed to adopt a siege mentality, and I'm sure it looks like they have, and the fans have properly bought into it. Liam said, getting Youan back playing again is to be credited to Gray. From social media rubbish to fighting with fans, the man management has been excellent. He could have easily disappeared into nothing. I think that's a really good point as well, because Youan looked like his time at Hibs was going to come at a really sort of unceremonious end, like a proper just kind of, instead of us getting money for him, we would have been glad to see the back of him. One of these type of exits. But I think that's totally turned around now, and he's been sort of leading celebrations with fans, and I think David Gray does take a lot of credit for that management, even just sticking him in the team and keeping playing him. John Yank, or sorry, Colin, you were going to say?
No, I was going to say, did you ask? Did we do extra time on it, or was it we done a question which was like, how do you deal with the problem Elie Youan, and that was it was like, well, what does David Gray do to get him back playing? He's sticking with him because, as well as that, like I've said, people were pleased to see him back, and so was I. But he wasn't in the first 3-4 games he played. There was no goals, there was no assists. As much as everybody say he played well, but the last 2 games there has been goals and there has been assists. So you could have just went, well, there's no goals and the assists. Like, that's it, that's him done. But actually, keep going, and look what we're getting now. We're actually getting end product, which is what he's there for.
Do you agree with that, John?
Aye. Obviously, there's been a gap where I've been not been recording, not been listening, while I've been focusing on some other things. But I do remember having a conversation, having almost like a wee button heads moment with you when I was talking about Youan, because I did see some of the qualities of him after he came back from injury, albeit he wasn't affecting the game in the way that Colin's describing. But I think there's this thing about, I'd messaged about it and I forget who it was, but I'd said something about like celebrating the enigma, and it's a word that you don't often hear applied to footballers often anymore. And I think it's because of, like, I don't know, it's like football just seems to be this like massively high pressure thing where mercurial talents like Youan, we didn't like even if you go back like years ago, like Tony Rougier wasn't necessarily a great footballer, but there was things that he did. You're like, how the fuck did he do that? Like on his game, you'd be like, you are amazing. You are the type of player that I come and watch football for. Like you excite me. Like you do things that amaze me. And Youan can be like that. But I don't know, like that. Obviously, I'm talking about Tony Rougier. It was like, what, 30 years ago? Like quite a while back. Like, I think life and football has changed since then. But we should enjoy the art of the footballer and not get bogged down in whether they score or whether they didn't get an assist or whatever. Because, and like you say, like I think there's been a bit of chat that he might be sold in January. Like we might be having this conversation again where it's a transfer window and we're looking at it going like, is it going to be here at the end of it? Are we going to get money? How are we going to spend that money? We recognise that he's a good player. We should enjoy that he's a good player. We should enjoy those contributions. We should enjoy those little moments like dancing about with the corner flag, because who knows
I want
how
to see the
often we're going to get to
keeper-uppies.
celebrate them.
The keeper, I've seen a couple of tweets, I agreed with it, but I'd love him to score like the winner at Tynecastle and just go do some keeper-uppies in the corner.
Get the ball and do some keeper-uppies, aye. Tremendous.
Fuck! I hadn't realised the significance of the keeper-uppies there for a second. That's caused all sorts of bother, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Jack C99 said, "Hello everyone. Moan Highby's confidence is looking good again. Let's start getting up the league now." GGTTH. I say a wee well done to Jack. Anybody that follows us on Twitter would have seen us congratulating Jack. Jack's got his own YouTube channel, Jack C99, and he hit 300 subscribers at the weekend, which has been a long-term goal. So well done, Jack. We're very proud of you, mate. Paul said, "I'm still not fully convinced by Gray. Moreover, the quadrant. It took him forever to change formation and find form. He's earned more time, January window and beyond. We know how quick it can change." Gilkey Hibs said, "Seeing the players all around Boyle with the handbags going on shows that they're all looking out for one another. Something that's been badly lacking, but hopefully now we have turned the corner." And Paul says, "Great to see Boyle back at his best yesterday. Let's not lose sight. It's taken this long for our highest paid player to show up this season. Needs to build on it." I think absolutely that's a thing. Like it can't just be like a one-off. Like, the same with Youan as well. Is like now that they're showing these level of performances, it is about maintaining it. Kieran said, "Boyle and Youan hitting form, right in time to stick it to them on Thursday." And Collins, this is going back to Boyle and his comments. Hib said, Boyle said in his post-match interview about it being the kick up the backside he needed, and that the competition for places is good now. If you don't perform, you'll find yourself sat on the bench. Tracy said, 2 wins, same result, but different ways of winning. Great to see us have some confidence back. We have to enjoy these moments. Well done to everyone who travelled up yesterday and got behind the team." John, this is probably like a really good point, because we spoke after the Ross County, Colin and I spoke after the Ross County game. I said it was almost like the worst type of win that we could have had, which was like to win the game, but with such an unconvincing performance that folk were booing the team off at half time. To follow that up then with like a very convincing win and turn it around is massive. And Tracy's point about winning in different ways, that speaks a bit to the character of the team, do you think, or showing another side of the team?
Maybe. It's again like I'm cautioning myself against getting too carried away, because I will genuinely take, in the context of the season that we've been having, I'll take any win however we can get them. And the thing that I wrote, I'd said about picking up 1 point, picking up wins was going to be hard, so we should try and take the little victories, like the relative successes, as we can get them. If we manage to sneak a goal at the end of the game, I think Youan's bundled a guy off the ball and he squared it for Josh Campbell, who's put the finishing touch to it. Brilliant. I'm not really bothered about the 89 minutes prior to that. Because, and again, like we the thing about winning in different ways, like we've also lost in so many different ways before. We've played shite and lost, we've played well and lost. So, however, I think in the context of the season that we've had, however we get the victory is a good thing, and we should enjoy them.
You're right, but there is an element of going like we had. So look at Aberdeen, right? Like their fans weren't questioning how they were winning the games because they were winning the games, but we kind of touched on it a wee bit without trying to criticise them because we were rock bottom at the time. But they were winning games 2-1 just with like 2 shots on goal and stuff. It was like when Venty scored 5 out of 5. Nobody went, like Matthew said last week, we all went 5 out of fucking hell, 100% efficiency, that boy. What a striker. Whereas actually the question is, how's he only getting 5 shots in 5 games? That's where so you've got to. I think you've got to look at it and go, well, we beat St Johnstone. It wasn't very good, but we beat Aberdeen. It was good. It's almost a pattern you're looking for to go. Is it because it never end, it's going to end at some point? You know what I mean? Like if you're just scraping by and winning games, you're not going to carry on doing that. So you've got to. There's still something to sort out there. I think is the point. I think it is.
Aye, no, I think it's taking that step back and just understanding. But also when you lose, and there is this sort of black and white way of looking at football that you say you'll only ever get what you deserve. So if you win, you deserve to win, and if you lose, you deserve to lose. And And it's like, well, surely no. Sometimes there's games where you played well and you should have got more than what you come away with. I think we looked at, and this XG drives folk mentally, but there's the XG table that you can look at, which gives you an idea of how teams have been playing. And Aberdeen have been overperforming their XG, and what you're seeing now is their results sort of mirror what they're where they should be based on their XG. And the same with us, we'd been underperforming ours, and we're now sort of matching it as we're getting the goals. So
are we returning to the mean? Is that?
Aye, but basically we're kind of teams are coming at all average over the season. So we had our bad luck all front loaded. Aberdeen had the good luck all front loaded, and now it's like kind of sorting itself out. That's what
It's a marathon, not a sprint. That's what it sounds like we're going to say next.
Right, time for two more, and then we'll wrap up. Chris said, very impressed with everyone. Weather was awful and everyone stuck to their tasks. Smith has shown he can keep the number one shirt. Another centre-back is required early in the window as the injuries are mounting. Can't wait for Boxing Day. Calling on the injury, so Hora went off, Newell went off. How important is it that we have them both fit for Boxing Day?
I think Newell's important just because he's like, I know folk criticise him and all that, but he was had the input for the goal there. He's still the club captain. The players have got a lot of respect for him and all that. So I think he's important. He plays if he's available, like if he can. Not even 100% fit. Although Quan was all right when he came on yesterday, by the way, a couple of minutes, and then he sort of settled. O'Hara, I'm not sure about yet. So I don't know. Miller at right centre back might be all right. I don't know. I think it'd be good to have him fit, but if he's no fit, he didn't look fit yesterday. I think I'd rather have a fully fit Lewis Miller playing there than a fit O'Hara.
Aye, fair enough. And we've also got like a beat as an option as well. They come in and play that role if need be. Right, last one. In fact, there's two more comments on YouTube, which I'll finish with, but then necessarily need to respond to. Ewan McAlee said, Boyle was on fire. Amazing what a shot of confidence does for the whole team. And Chris Black said, Mon the Hunt Scalping ladies. We mentioned that right at the top of the show, Chris. A great win for them today against Rangers. Kieran Gallagher said, Nicky Cadden as well shows the difference when you've got consistency and quality. Been outstanding the last 6 weeks, and at last a set piece taker. Okay, right, we are out of time. If you are a subscriber, we will have one other episode before Christmas, which is extra time. That'll be tomorrow night, where we will do a full sort of derby preview. We will then be back, probably not Boxing Day, but probably the 27th to preview the Kilmarnock game. But we'll also do an extended one and look back at the derby as well. Maybe if we get a really good result at Boxing Day, we might do one on Boxing Day night, see how we're all feeling. If we're
we could do a phone in one, eh?
Aye, we could do a phone-in one or something like that. Like we'll sort of play it by ear. So watch out.
If we win,
if we win, if we lose, fuck that. Right? We'll talk about it on Friday. We'll have a bit of time to sleep on it, and then we can talk about it on Friday. So there will definitely be a derby review. Might be Friday. If it's a good one, we'll get folk on for the phone-in. We'll have a jolly good knees up on Boxing Day. And the last thing on the 29th. Right, I'm just thinking about what I was doing with the card on the 29th. Potentially go for some beers, like some long bangers. Beers was mooted by Joe on the phone in on Thursday, so watch out for that. If that goes ahead, we'll let you know the details as well. We'll just post it on our Twitter or what have you. Right, thanks for tuning in. Go and subscribe.